Public companies connect executive pay to performance. On the Business Courier front page centerpiece this week, the annual rankings of Cincinnati CEOs based on who provides shareholders with the best return on their investment. And the verdict is, this CEO provides the best bang for the buck. This is Cincinnati Financial Corporation CEO Steve Johnston. Cincinnati Financial cranked out a big profit gain last year. Its stock jumped in a flat year for the market, and it's raised its dividend for 56 consecutive years. But despite all of that, Johnston took an 18% pay cut. His total compensation fell from $2.6 million to less than $2.2 million. He is the 20th highest paid CEO out of Greater Cincinnati's 27 locally based public companies. The Business Courier's special report on executive pay measures how much those 27 companies paid their CEOs, and they compare it with the company's shareholder return, net income growth, and return on equity to come up with the ranking. This is the 12th consecutive year that the Business Courier has conducted its Bang for the Buck study. Business Courier reporter Steve Watkins tackles this task each year and joins Business Watch producer Kelly Leon in the studio with more on this year's findings. Steve and Kelly.
Thanks so much, Steve. Thanks for being here this morning.
Glad to be here.
I thought it was really interesting that Johnston's pay dropped, even though the company is doing so well.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, you usually don't expect that.
Yeah.
The main reason is Cincinnati Financial uses a different measure than we do for performance. And even though they did great in all the metrics we look at, Cincinnati Financial looks at what they call value creation. It's basically a measure of book value, which is the asset value of the company. That didn't meet their standards for bonuses last year, and so all the executives took a cut in their bonus. This year, however, that number is well on target. In fact, it's ahead of schedule. So these guys are all in for bonuses this year that'll put his pay more in line with the performance they've had.
Okay, so you have been writing about this for a long time.
Yes.
The Courier's been doing it for 12 years. I know it's a lot of work.
It is a lot.
Talk a little bit about the trends that you're seeing over the years.
Yeah, there are several of them that are pretty interesting. The one that stands out the most is pay is getting far more in line with performance. When we started this, it was all over the board, and it's I wish I could say it was all due to us, but it isn't actually. A lot of it has to do with the SEC and shareholders putting more pressure on companies, but pay is much more in line. Now this year locally, CEOs' pay rose 20%. That's a huge increase. Nationally, it was up like 4%. So that sounds pretty out of whack, but there are two things that offset that. One is that there are two companies, Ashland and General Cable, that got new CEOs, and those guys, the companies paid a lot of stock as when the new person came in. They gave them stock awards. That boosted their pay kind of artificially this year. The other thing is that, you know, just over time, things have balanced out a lot more, and so, you know, like I said, pay has just become a lot more in line with performance, and so really the performance locally has been a lot stronger too. Everything turned up this year compared to last year, so that was a big thing that justified some of the pay increase. So
when you look at the overall, are there things that need to improve in terms of bang for the buck?
Yeah, there are. When you first look at it, it looks like, boy, everything's right in line. But I talked to a couple of pay experts, and they said there are some things that can improve primarily with the measures of performance that companies use. A few people would like to see a few more things that CEOs are in control of, things like relations with employees. Harder to measure, but probably more control. And one has to do with return on capital invested. Not as common of a measure, but one that certainly makes sense for shareholders. The other thing that really stands out is we only have one woman out of the 28 CEOs. One company has co-CEOs, but there's only one woman on that list. That's below the national average and needs to improve. And there are no racial minorities. That really needs to improve. So boards need to step up their game a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the Business Courier will continue to follow this. Maybe we'll see something different next year?
We certainly hope so.
Year
and
after?
We will definitely be following it and see if pay continues to be in line. But the companies are doing a good job of it.
Great. And lots more in the print edition, so be sure to pick up a copy of that. Thanks so much for being here, Steve.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Back to you.
All right, thanks, Kelly and Steve. So if you're wondering how other company CEOs ranked, here's a list of the top 5 behind Cincinnati Financial. Number 2, Multicolor. Number 3, Air Transport Services. 4, United Community Bancorp. Number 5 is LSI Industries. And 6, Convergys, led by Andrea Ayers. And as Steve mentioned, she is the only woman on that list of 27. For the full list, you can be sure to pick up a copy of the Courier print edition.